M. Night Shyamalan is usually criticized as a writer for his over-reliance on plot twists, and it's easy to see why. 8 of his 9 early films include major plot twists, but I think that somewhere down the line people started to associate plot twists with bad movies, believing that plot twists themselves equate to bad writing. M. Night's films may not all have been box office successes, but that doesn't mean plot twists are something only weak writers lean on, or that M. Night was wrong to use them. On the contrary, some of the most critically acclaimed screenplays include a plot twist. When you learned who Tyler Durden actually was, found out why Andy Dufresne wasn't in his cell that morning, or learned how Alfred Borden did his trick, did you discard these moments as a cheap way to surprise you? Of course not, these are genuinely fantastic scenes. And like any great moment, they can only be had once. You can only feel the full emotional impact of the plot twist on your first viewing. Of course, that's assuming no one has spoiled it for you yet. When Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince leaked onto the internet, fans were outraged when major elements of the book were spoiled before they ever had a chance to experience it for themselves. Nowadays, spoiling the plot twist to stories in television, books, or movies is now tantamount to social suicide.
Any sentence prefaced with any variation of the following phrase.
Okay, so this isn't really a spoiler, but...
will not only be automatically deemed a spoiler, but the person uttering said phrase will not be allowed to speak for the next 45 minutes.
So right before they get...
People take their spoilers very seriously these days. Most screenplays that do include a plot twist have just one, and the entire narrative builds towards that one great revelation. There is one film, however, that doesn't have just one plot twist. Gavin O'Connor's 2016 film, The Accountant, has 5. More doesn't necessarily mean better, but The Accountant's plot twists serve as great examples of how to do it the right way. A good plot twist has 3 main components. If the plot twist happens late into the film, it has a greater impact on the audience. The largest of the twists in The Prestige occurs only seconds before the curtain falls. The first twist of Inception, by contrast, occurs only a few minutes into the film, and its impact is consequently much less powerful. The Accountant's first twist doesn't take place until the hour and 15-minute mark, and its last is revealed only 3 minutes before the credits roll. The reason later is better is usually because of ingredient number 2. A good screenwriter knows that it's important to only give as much information to the audience as they need to know. By controlling the amount of information the audience receives, the screenwriter can fill that information in at a later time. The Accountant works so well because when each new plot twist is revealed, the audience fills in the missing information and in doing so, sees the whole plot in a new light. It changes the context of the information they already had. This is what gives plot twists their eureka moment, and The Accountant pulls this off masterfully. With each new revelation, the entire plot is given a new layer of depth, a new color to paint what's already been shown to us. In The Green Mile, we're given confusing, incomplete information when John Coffey says, "I tried to take it back, but it was too late," which the audience assumes to mean that John is remorseful for the murders he's committed. It's not until we learn about John's past in a flashback do we truly understand what he meant by that, which changes the context of the information we already have. The third component is, well, pretty crucial to any good screenplay, but in order for the audience to feel the full impact of a plot twist, the characters it affects have to be well developed. The audience needs to be emotionally invested in these characters, otherwise they won't care how the plot twist affects them. This is why The Sixth Sense is M. Night's most critically acclaimed film. He takes the time needed to develop Malcolm Crowe as a character before he learns the heartbreaking truth, and we, the audience, feel that heartbreak with him. The Accountant devotes 45 minutes of its 2-hour runtime just to develop its characters, so that by the time the audience reaches its plot twists, in spite of the often expressionless Christian Wolff, they feel what he must be feeling. Having a late, emotionally meaningful plot twist that changes the context of the audience's existing information is ideal, but how a screenwriter makes that twist happen is up to them. The Accountant relies very heavily on the anagnoresis plot twist, which is simply when a character's true identity or motive is revealed. This is probably the simplest plot twist to execute, but it can be quite powerful in the right hands. If we look at the web of relationships in the account before the plot twists start happening, we can see how each Anagnoresis plot twist heavily changes the context of past scenes. And as these twists happen late into the film and involve well-developed characters, each one is a strong revelation to both the characters and the audience. Game of Thrones often uses the Peripeteia plot twist in which the characters have a sudden change in fortune, for better or worse. The Red Wedding hit viewers so hard because the characters in the scene are so well developed. This past season saw Daenerys walk into the House of Khal as a slave, and walk out as leader of an entire people in only a few minutes' time. In both scenes we're rooting for these characters, so the twist causes an emotional swing in either direction. Last year's release of Denis Villeneuve's Arrival gives a plot twist by having a non-linear narrative, and in order to understand why this is so specifically brilliant to Arrival, you really need to see the film for yourself. A lot of movies use this twist by showing the chronologically last scene of the narrative first. This not only sets the tone of the film, but also gives the audience a small but satisfying revelation, filling in the missing information to an opening scene we didn't yet understand. But my personal favorite type of plot twist is probably Chekhov's gun. Anton Chekhov once said, "In the first act, if you place a pistol on the wall, in the second act it must be fired, otherwise don't put it there." In plot twists, this means that seemingly innocuous elements or characters introduced early on suddenly become incredibly important to the plot in the final act. In The Accountant, the identity of Christian Wolf's handler is shown very early on, but doesn't seem pertinent to the story until the second to last scene. These are just a few examples of the kinds of plot twists screenwriters use. But for now I want to return to something I said earlier regarding the relationship between plot twists and spoilers. It's considered very frowned upon to spoil a twist for someone who has yet to see a film, because it will ruin that first viewing they have of it, that moment that can only be experienced once. In 2011, researchers from the University of California tested whether spoiling the twist of a story affects the enjoyment of the reader, and paradoxically found that when a plot twist is spoiled, readers actually enjoy the story even more. The results suggested that people are in fact wasting their time avoiding these spoilers. If you have a favorite plot twist, let me know about it in the comments, and maybe don't worry about spoiling it for others. Thanks for watching.